Well, here we go. The college football playoff ready to get started on Friday night. Tennessee will make their way over to Columbus, Ohio for a matchup with Ohio State. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the #1 team in the nation in basketball. That and much more next on the Food City Locker Room presented by Garza Law. This is the Players Show. So, guys, here we go. All roads have led to the college football playoff. All the talking's over. How are we feeling heading off to Columbus, Ohio?
I'm just happy they're talking about us. It's been a long time since we've been in this situation to play college football and to be relevant in the end. So they're talking about Tennessee. Our game's going to be the game that's on that night, that everybody's going to be there. So kudos to our staff and our players for getting us in this position.
It's officially game week. Enough talking about it. We've been waiting. This team's had time to heal. This team has had time to watch film and get and prepare for this game. Tennessee is featured in the primetime spot. It's go time.
You know, it's interesting. It's one of those deals where I think both of these teams at the 8-9 spot in this playoff, there's a lot that you just still don't know about both of them. Ohio State was rolling along, looked like they'd be one of the top 4 seeds, and they lost 13-10. To Michigan. Now they wonder who they are. Tennessee has worked their way in at 10-2. We still don't really know who Tennessee is. I don't know that any of us know what to expect Saturday night.
I don't think we know what to expect, but I think there's a reason why they put us in this position with and against Ohio State. Both of these teams are teams that have a lot of capability. They have a lot of players. They have a lot of guys that can make plays. And now it comes down to who's going to do it and how are you going to come and make those plays in the big moment. People who make plays are going to be special, and hopefully our guys are ready to make those plays.
I think when you've played 12 games, that's kind of who you are, right? I mean, I think, Mark said you don't know who we are. I think we are a team that is capable of playing really, really good defense. We have, for the most part, offensively, we can run the football. We have explosive capabilities, but we haven't seen a lot of it. We saw in the Vanderbilt game Tennessee be able to do that. Kicking game has been pretty sound. We have been a gritty team that have found ways to win. Relying on defense. That's who we are. Ohio State is a very talented team that is capable of putting up a bunch of points, but when they get punched in the mouth in a really, really tough, difficult game against a really good team like they did against Michigan, they're capable of folding up too. So, I mean, which team are we going to see from Tennessee? That's going to be the question. Which team we see from Ohio State? You know,
I said when you say that's who we are, I think the circumstances, the conditions are kind of in our favor, right? Like we like to run the football. We like to rotate a bunch of defensive linemen. We like to play ground and pound football to go and win the game, and I think that's what you're going to have to do. So I think that'll be important.
Ohio State comes in. Will Howard, the quarterback for the Buckeyes, 19 of 33, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. His QBR was just 57. There was one of those key interceptions. So I think for him, he's got to kind of be doubting himself just a little bit against maybe the best defense they have faced this year. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's front is tough,
really good.
especially up front there, the first 4 or 5 guys. Their linebackers probably a little bit better, a little bit more experience with better depth. But it's going to be a tough, tall order for Ohio State. They went out and they replaced their quarterback last year because they thought they can be in a better position this year. And I don't know if they've improved the quarterback position. And it's Tennessee's responsibility on defense to make sure that he is not any better than the quarterback they had last year.
In my head, I completely agree. It was a lateral move at quarterback, right? Like bringing in Will Howard. You saw McCord actually went to Syracuse and played pretty well up there. Took them to a 9-3 winner, right? So played a lot better. At the end of the day, it's up to our defense to go and bully them around, push them around, stop their run, and make Will Howard make some mistakes. I think if you pressure him, you'll see mistakes happen. But let's not get it twisted. They got some dudes on the outside. If you let him stand back and do it, they got some dudes.
Well, if we don't get pressure on their quarterback, it's going to be a long day for us as a team.
Yep.
But if you're able to get pressure on Will Howard, it's very important that our guys on the outside are able to tackle in space because they're going to get the ball out quick and say, all right, can you tackle us in space because we have talented receivers who are big and fast. And if we can tackle in space, linebackers versus their running backs, DBs versus their wide receivers, Tennessee has a great chance.
Well, when you talk about Will Howard's numbers for the season, this is a guy 27 touchdowns through the air, 8 interceptions, pretty good touchdown to interception ratio. Hasn't made a lot of mistakes outside of that Michigan game where it was the 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. So he's been pretty efficient.
Been very efficient, but in the game that matters, how did you play, right? You're only as good as that, and I think that's what's most important. That Michigan game was important. Michigan is not supposed to be in that game, so that game mattered. There was a lot of pressure. There'll be a lot of pressure Saturday night as well, so we have to get that pressure and make it happen.
We've seen Ohio State beat the teams that they always beat.
Supposed to be.
Indiana, Penn State, they always beat those teams. But in the last 4 years, the one game they circle on the calendar, they make a big deal about, they have not played up to their standard.
They lost the last 4.
They have not played up to their talent level.
Yeah.
Here's another game where everything is riding on it. Will the pressure get to them at home, where you see Tennessee fans gobbling up tickets?
Well, sure.
Ron Day's job is questioned by the fans.
That was a vote of confidence.
The AD said he's coming back, but there's a lot of pressure with Ohio State. How do they handle it?
And one of the questions is, how does Nico handle this? And I know there's a whole lot of players, but there's a lot of focus on the quarterback, which is where we're starting this. Nico on the season, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. At times, he's been the guy, and the reason you went and paid him all that money. At times, you've kind of wondered, we're trying to coach around him just a little bit. So you wondered going into this hostile environment, which Nico shows up.
What about lately, though? I think that's the Nico that you have to really put the weight on. In the last 4 or 5 games,
That
the
hit at
last month,
Alabama.
Nico has been
Still
really
freshman
good.
now.
Yeah, he's a freshman on paper, but he's not a freshman anymore at this stage of the game at the end of the season. Nico has played well enough for this team to win and be explosive offensively in the last 4 to 5 weeks.
He has, and I think, again, in this game, this is where you depend on your experienced offensive line, right? You depend on them to kind of block, get the ball going, and then Nico can make a couple of those plays like we saw against Vandy. He has played extremely well lately with those play-action passes and being able to get it out.
This is not Nico from the Arkansas game.
Yeah.
He's improved. He's gotten better. The receivers and the playmakers around him, they've gotten better. And they'll have to be really good on Saturday, too.
Obviously, you look at Tennessee's leading rusher in Dylan Sampson, almost 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns. Ohio State's leading rusher under 900. Obviously, the MO is to run Dylan Sampson. The game time temperature will be about 25 degrees. Control the clock, then hit him with the pass. It's a pretty easy recipe.
Pretty easy recipe. I think if we can run the football, that opens everything else up. And that's our recipe to really getting going. These last 4 or 5 games, as you mentioned, Swain, you've been able to run the football consistently, which is opening up that play-action passes for the Kitselmans, everybody, the receivers, everybody in the world. So look for a lot of motions. Our motion game is important. I think that kind of gets things going as well.
That Miles Kitselman fella, he's a pretty good player, I heard.
You're only saying that because he's sitting about 5 feet away from you in studio.
We love tight ends. You know I say that anyways.
Tennessee's running game has been the reason why in the last couple of games you've had those explosive opportunities on the outside.
Right.
Guys like Dante Thornton. We saw Mike Matthews have a slant touchdown pass against Vanderbilt. The run is going to open up opportunities for Kitselman, for Stays, for Ethan Davis, and the wide receivers.
Here's the deal. The 500-pound gorilla in the corner of the room. You invest financially in the NIL stage that we're in, where we are in college football. You have invested into your offensive line. Now's when that's got to pay off. You've got to control the line of scrimmage. Everybody's got to play past the whistle a little bit, and you've got to control against a Big Ten team.
This is one of those games where this is why you came here, right? Like, we invested in our left tackle and our right tackle. I think those are 2 important positions. I think early on we saw them struggle a little bit, but you've seen them get better. You've seen them progress. You've seen their pass protection. You've seen Lance Hurd pulling around, just doing a better job. So you have to lean on them. You have to lean on Cooper Mays to play extremely well.
Speaking of Cooper Mays, he was a finalist for the Remington Award for the nation's best center. Did not get it. The Ohio State center got it. So a lot of fuel to the fire for Cooper Mays.
When we come back, Miles Kitselman, who these guys are glowingly talking about because he is sitting here in studio. We like him anyway. But we're going to visit with Miles a little bit when we come back in the next segment and the segment after. Also, we have not even talked about Tennessee's defensive front against Ohio's defensive front. We'll do that when we come back in the Food City locker room, and it's always presented by Garza Law.
Attention shoppers, don't forget to ask our certified butchers for great recipe tips.
This is an authentic butcher shop,
where meat is hand-cut in-store, beef is ground fresh daily, and expert advice from a certified butcher
is always free of charge.
Free advice? That's what I call value. The quality I crave, the value I count on.
Nobody does food like Food City.
At Glass Doctor, our trained specialists are experts at fixing foggy and cracked glass.
Looks great.
You're all set.
What we can't fix is your view.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
was coming home and a lady hit me head on. It totaled my car. It fractured my right heel and it bruised me up really badly. The Garza Law firm, they were very compassionate, but yet they were very detailed. They didn't let me down. They never stopped fighting. It helped me regain confidence in law firms. I would definitely recommend the Garza Law firm.
The Garza Law firm. Let us help.
I was the star around here until Glass Doctor installed this perfect shower enclosure. Now they look at me like, well, there you go.
Call the Glass Doctor, we'll fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
The Locker Room is brought to you by Food City, NPG Brain and Concussion, Knoxville Smiles, Glass Doctor, and Garza Law.
So we were sitting here talking during the break. If there's anywhere that you look in this game and you say, boy, Tennessee really should have an advantage there, it's Tennessee's defensive front against Ohio State's offensive front. And Swain is pretty basic, the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tennessee's depth. You look at the talent. James Pierce is an NFL first rounder. You look at Ohio State, that's down 2 starters, the left tackle and their center. And so that should be an advantage for Tennessee.
You know, I think a lot of times in the defensive line, people underestimate the pressure that you get on the center and having a really experienced center. We are fortunate to have one. How do you go and do that, right? Like, how do you get pressure on him? How do you move James Pierce around to really get pressure on the quarterback and force him to make mistakes?
Do you have to move James Pierce around to get pressure on the quarterback, or do you feel good about all the other guys? Omar Norman Lott. We've seen other players, Tyree West. Yeah, I mean, Omar Thomas does a great job of, if he doesn't get to the passer, he's putting a hand up, batting ball. So, yes, you want to put your best player in place to make plays, but, man, this group has done a great job of making them themselves.
But you guys will know much better than I will, because I never played football to the level that you guys did. But when you lose the center and you lose that guy that's calling all those plays for the offensive line, how much of it is a loss for Ohio State of the communication up front versus just having the guy there?
Well, obviously, the center comes out. He's trying to identify the point of contact on a defense, right? And I think with the dudes that we have up front, again, you get pressure, they start getting confused, things start changing a lot. So I look for our defensive line to get a lot of pressure. I look for Tim Banks to bring pressure early to try to get the ball out of his hands. Yes, we have to try to confuse him. We're trying to point out and figure out who it is. And then I think that's when he starts to make mistakes.
Definitely could work. But I look at Ohio State. They're one of 3 teams in the country that has more talent basically than everyone else. Yeah. We know this Ohio State roster was built to win a championship.
Who are the other 2? You not adding Oregon to that?
That's Georgia and Texas. Oregon, I think, is a close, 4th, but I think Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, they have the 3 best talented rosters. And if you're Tennessee defensive line, you cannot have a performance like you did against Georgia where they did neutralize us. Here's an opportunity to come back and play well.
But I guess I'm asking the question, because you know that Ohio State's down 2 offensive line, 2 starters, and 1 is the center, are you mixing up a lot of more exotic looks and a lot more pressure from a lot of different spots because you realize they don't have that cohesion of the 5 guys that have been playing together for so long?
Yeah, and I mentioned the talent levels because the drop-off may not be as big as when you play some of these other teams 100%. And they lose their starting linemen. So expect a talented player to be, in the place of the hurt player. But if you're Tim Banks, you got to do everything. You got to throw the kitchen sink at Ohio State. It's elimination game. You win or you go home. So depending on how they adjust to what you throw at them after 2 or 3 weeks of prep work, be ready to make adjustments.
I think early in the game, you're going to see a lot of pressure on the center. You're going to see guys coming in that A gap. You're going to see them lining right up over him. Again, trying to get him confused and get him going. That is the strength of our defense, is like our defensive line, right? So we have to be able to create pressure with the front 4.
Well, you want to force Will Howard to win the game with his arm.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want Ohio State to be able to run the football and him dink and dunk to the tight end and the receivers on short routes.
Yeah.
You want third and longs to force the game to be, in his hands.
So before we bring Miles Kitselman in, I know that the transfer portal's been a bit of an adventure in college football. We talked about this. I brought this stupid question up a few weeks ago. How many guys aren't going to be playing in the playoff because maybe they're going to choose to do something else? And I got to look like I had three eyes. But here we are now where there's like 8 or 9 guys that have gone to the transfer portal, which is this a surprise?
It's a surprise that these guys are choosing not to play. I mean, that's a surprise. I mean,
so they could go to the portal and they could have still played.
They could have. I think Josh Heupel has allowed these guys to make that decision, but they need to go and try to find their next place. I mean, Ole Miss basically signed the whole class in LSU so far in the first week and a half. So these guys are looking to make their presence felt at their new home. I understand that, but it'll be hard for me to go the whole season, put in all that work, and then not play in the biggest game of the year or not be around to play in the biggest game of the year. You never know what might happen, who can get hurt if you have an opportunity to go out there and make a play. And if you do make a play, that only enhances your value. So I don't understand it, but hey, that's what they're want to do.
I think it's changed a lot with getting paid, right? Like kids are trying to go and get paid.
What?
It's unfortunate, right? I agree with you. It's like go out and ball, go out and play. There's a couple guys on there that have actually got some time and got some burn and had some opportunities to make some big plays, right? So I don't get it as well, but that's the way that's the world we live in.
It puts more pressure on guys like Dante Thornton, Brew McCoy. I mean, not only to make plays, but they can't get hurt. Like we've seen.
You lost some depth.
Caleb Webb. We've seen Chaz Nimrod go out there when other guys got banged up during the course of the game and couldn't finish. Well, you can't get banged up and not finish. You got to finish and go because the receiver depth chart has gotten shorter.
I think one of the challenges would be if I was a guy that went to the transfer portal and the coach said, well, you can still play, I would almost feel like an outsider going, and because now the guys on the team know that I'm not loyal to them. And then the coach is like, do I really want to put that guy out there? He's not loyal to me. I know I want to help myself win, but do I want to help him?
I mean, I understand. I get it. But, like, if you are a professional, if you have a professional mindset, you're going to go out there and do your job knowing that if you do it well, it can only help your value with your new place.
But it doesn't hurt your value if you go with the team and then you just sit on the bench and don't get in?
Yeah, it can hurt your value. So why would I want you on my new team if you can't play at Tennessee? How are you going to help me unless you go down a couple levels?
A whole nother story for a whole nother day. We're going to take a break. Miles Kitselman is going to sit down over here with Jason on the Food City player perspective. He was so good the first time, we brought him back. That's next on the Food City Locker Room presented by Garza Law.
The Locker Room is brought to you by Food City, Exterior Home Solutions, D1 Training, Lakewood Capital Group, Ted Russell Ford, and Garza Law.
Attention shoppers, don't forget to ask our certified butchers for great recipe tips.
This is an authentic butcher shop.
Where meat is hand-cut in-store, beef is ground fresh daily, and expert advice from a certified butcher
is always free of charge.
Free advice? That's what I call value. The quality I crave, the value I count on.
Nobody does food like Food City.
I see Marcos' role in the community as somebody that people can look up to.
Marcos Garza is very thoughtful. He pays attention to the needs of the people in the community.
He's somebody that's very unselfish, somebody that's going to always be there.
Marcos Garza will work as hard as he can to get the best results for you.
In the future, no matter where I'm playing, no matter what the team I'm playing for, I'll always be on Garza's team.
The Garza Law Firm is Mama ZZ approved.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Come on, we got a roof to replace.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Hey, Sterl, you ready to go to the top? Man, I can't believe you guys been doing this for 25 years. Oh, baby.
Now, this is what I call a rooftop party.
We have 25 years experience in roofing and exterior renovations, and we're backed by the best.
Are you ready to get your rooftop party started? Give us a call, 865-524-5888.
Knoxville Smile depend on us to make your smile better.
Knoxville Smiles, are you happy with your smile today? Knoxville Smiles, we're all about smiles.
Hey, Lance, what makes you smile?
Pancake blocks.
What's up, guys? It's Devin Driscoll, owner of D1 Sports Training. We know in 2024, convenience is king, so we have locations not just in Hardin Valley, but now one in Maryville, in Farragut, and in Morristown, with more soon to come. So keep an eye out. We want to bring D1 Sports Training to everyone in East Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jody Griffin. I'm a dentist here in Knoxville, Tennessee. In 22, I had a wakeboard tower hit me on the head and give me a concussion. In my office, I show x-rays to my patients so they can see their teeth. I needed somebody to do the same thing for my brain, so I went to MPG. They did an EEG of my brain, and they were able to show me the activity of my brain and give me a diagnosis and a treatment plan. So I choose MPG because brains is what they do, and that's all they do.
Time now for the Food City Player's Perspective. A look inside the locker room with the Vols.
All right, here with Miles Kitselman, Tennessee's tight end. A couple weeks of rest. How good was that to the body?
Man, huge. Just getting the body back in the treatment room, getting these legs back underneath me, and I feel like everybody needed that rest.
Maybe an advantage playing a team that you normally don't play every single week. So there's some things that maybe they're not used to seeing. Ohio State, they don't play a fast tempo offense like Tennessee. Do you feel like you guys have a pretty good advantage in the area?
I think you could say that about both teams. In the SEC, you don't see a lot of the stuff that Ohio State's going to run, so our defense has a lot of stuff to get prepared for. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, our advantage is tempo and all that kind of stuff, and they don't see a whole lot of that in the Big Ten. We'll see. But you could say that about both teams.
During the course of the season, it's about growing, learning, getting better, developing, being your best when it matters the most. You guys had some tough wins and some tough losses. In those losses, what do you think you guys learned that you think will help you this weekend versus Ohio State?
Yeah, I think, at this point in the season, like you guys were talking about rosters earlier, everyone's talented. Yeah. That's not really the case. It's what team's going to hone in on the details, what team's going to hone in on the little things. And I know that might sound cliche, but at this point in the season, that's what this comes down to. For a lot of these guys on this team, if not all of them, this is their first time being in this moment. This is the second year you've been in this opportunity in a row, where last year you were with Alabama when Alabama was competing against Michigan in the playoff. What's your message to some of your teammates about this weekend? Yeah, for sure. Like I was just talking about, little things and fundamentals, the things that you may not do, the things, your diet, your recovery, the film, reading the book, all those little things that you may push off to the side or not take as seriously, like this truly does come down to those things and what team's going to hone in on that. Where have you seen the biggest improvement with first-year starter Nico Iamaleava? Yeah, I would say confidence for sure. It's hard to step into a room where you've never really been on the field before and just immediately be the leader, be expected to call upon your teammates when you need them the most. And now that he's had a couple games underneath his belt, he's got some confidence underneath him. You can feel that on the team and feel him confident and stepping up and talking more when we need him to. Usually you see offensive linemen, defensive linemen, guys that play on the line in cold weather games and warm-ups, they go out there without a shirt on. Is that something you're gonna do? No. No, I gotta keep my body warm. I'm not doing that. So you're not a cold weather guy. I'm from Kansas, but I was talking with Chris earlier. I've been in the South for 3 years now, so but I'm gonna be clothed for warm-ups. What have you heard about Ohio State? They're playing in the shoe, their environment. What have you heard about that stadium? We haven't really talked about the stadium at all. It's what you expect. It's a playoff game. It's at their place. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to be loud, and we have to prepare for that. Kitselman has been a baller all year. We'll see the quarterback, Nico, get the ball to Miles if Tennessee's able to get some explosive players on the outside. Sure.
I hope he does get him the ball. Two things, Miles. So, number one, how's Nico progressed kind of through the middle of the season towards the later part of the season in the sense of just command of the offense and being the leader? And Do we have a flag or anything like that, or is that not to be talked about?
No, like I was talking with Jason earlier, you know, the more confidence you get, the easier it is to call upon your teammates and talk more and step up when we need you. And Nico's been great at that. And no, there will be no flags.
By the way, Miles, you know who, when they were at Tennessee, they planted a flag somewhere?
Yeah. Long story.
This guy.
Yeah,
he's a bad role model.
I don't really feel like being a felon.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield.
He's a bad role model.
A.K.A. Chris Brown. Hey, when we come back, we'll touch on the keys to the game Saturday night. We'll also talk about the #1 team in the country in basketball. That's when we come back.
Hi, I'm Laura Ash, your West Knoxville State Farm agent. I've been here in the Renaissance for 17 years, and I'd love to help your young football players or anyone with their car insurance, home insurance, and life insurance. Give me a call at Laura Ash State Farm.
I see Marco's role in the community as somebody that people can look up to.
Marcos Garza is very thoughtful. He pays attention to the needs of the people in the community.
He's somebody that's very unselfish, somebody that's going to always be there.
Marcos Garza will work as hard as he can to get the best results for you.
In the future, no matter where I'm playing, no matter what the team I'm playing for, I'll always be on Garza's team.
The Garza Law Firm is Mama Zizi approved.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Hi, I'm David Ball, National Sales Manager here at Legend Fitness. Legend Fitness has been built on longevity and quality. Our racks are fully welded and has the least amount of bolts in the industry, made to stand up to the test of time. Because at Legend Fitness, we deliver quality and we want our customers to be Legend strong.
Hey, Tim Hoskins here from Covenant Sports Medicine. I'm the corporate manager of sports medicine, and I want to speak a little bit to our community partners and relationships that we have. We partner with FC Alliance Soccer, LeConte Center at Pigeon Forge, Johnson University, numerous high schools in and around the area, AAU basketball, Morristown Landing, travel hockey, volleyball, lacrosse, you name it, we're probably involved. What a lot of people don't know about Covenant Health is we're a nonprofit, community-based healthcare delivery system. We provide services in your community. If you ever need help with some event medicine or sporting event, scan the QR code at the bottom. Covenant Health, our mission is to improve lives through better health.
Community banking is about location and much more. It's about family. We reside in your community. We are a part of your community. At Commercial Bank, our commitment extends beyond the walls of our branches. It's displayed each day in the opportunities we provide, the money we give back, and the time we commit, all to help improve the lives of the people, families, and businesses that make our communities great. Commercial Bank, life made better.
Keys to Victory is brought to you by Garza Law.
We have talked about the keys to the victory, so we're going to talk about how you got the victory as the #1 team in the country. How about our boy Gainey? Good grief.
Well, Jordan Gainey really stepped up. Our two guys were out. Ziegler was out. Chaz Lanier was out. But good for Jordan Gainey, man. Very happy for him.
Yeah, could have went up with the left, but probably would have been a tougher shot. Maybe got blocked, but he goes under the defender with the right-hand scoop. Man, he was in his bag.
By the way, did you see the Illinois fan push Chaz Lanier after the game? I mean, down there on the sideline, they're showing the coaches, and this fan pushes Chaz Lanier on the sideline.
Well, that's what losers do. Yeah, that's what losers do.
Oh, here we go. So Zakai was in foul trouble the whole time. He couldn't make it for the show because he said, hey, yo, little Mark, we've got a game Tuesday. They had to kind of heal up, had to get in the weight room, had to get in the film room, so he wasn't able to make it tonight. But I think what it showed when Zakai and Lanier were both in foul trouble, they've got enough players like our defensive line does in football to get it done.
I think that was Rick Barnes' purpose kind of in the transfer portal, was to get some depth, to get some guys that can score, bigger gentlemen. So good for Rick Barnes, good for our team. They're #1 in the country.
Zakai, that was a good game. Your boys bailed you out, but don't do that again, man. You had us nervous.
Made us very nervous.
You had us nervous, Zakai.
Very nervous.
By the way, he is so in control when he's out there. It's fun to see his experience. He works the whole floor when he's out there. Tennessee and Ohio State, Saturday night, 8 o'clock, ESPN broadcast. Vols a 7.5-point underdog. Hopefully we're talking about a trip to the Rose Bowl next Sunday night. We'll see.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.